because indeed today is the Africa Day of the African Union. So we need to get into a bit of what that is all about. To join me in that important conversation, I have a leading Nigerian scholar who is an associate professor from the University of Uyo and who is also the president of the Pan-African Dialogue Institute in that university. And also, by the way, is the director of the Center for Deep Dialogue and Cultural Thinking. I'd like to welcome to Inside Sources, Dr. Effiong Joseph Udo.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome to Inside Sources.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
Excellent, excellent. I think a very good way to start this idea of Pan-African Day is to ask you, you are the expert. What is supposed to be the response of African countries to this new American foreign policy led by what it has been called President Trump Part 2? How best do we, should we respond as a continent or should we respond as individual countries? Look at what happened last week in the White House, the kind of treatment that the South African President Ramaphosa got. Some people said that he held down the thing very well. Some said that he didn't. Now, what do you think should be the response of African people, even Nigeria, to this Trumpian age, if you can say?
Absolutely. We are in a Trumpian age indeed. And of course, you know that whatever happens in America, of course, it is said that when America sneezes, everywhere will catch cold.
We should admit that.
It is quite amusing, of course, to see that Trump at 2 is emphasizing American first. Yeah. The American priority should also be, taken to be on the continent to be African first, African priority. Right. You see, it is important that we do not either denigrate the fact that people love their countries and love who they are. The same way we Africans must learn to love who we are as Africans, love our continent, love our various countries. So that speaks to patriotism. With regards to, let's call it an embarrassment, if you like. Some people take it as an embarrassment. The African leader of the White House, I wouldn't call it an embarrassment. It's an opportunity.
You're talking of Cyril Ramaphosa?
Yeah, President Cyril Ramaphosa of South Africa, at the White House, and how he was, bombarded with the whole allegation
of
ambushed, the allegation of the white genocide. Okay, now I also recognize the fact that the President Ramaphosa did well, of course. That is not what he went there for. He went there to talk about trade and the policies that President Trump has come up with, okay? Right. He tried to take him back to that, okay? The issue is that we are aware that President Trump may not have been fully guided. As a matter of fact, the whole concept of white genocide in South Africa is a kind of let's call it a theory. This theory from is a theory that is sponsored by France.
A conspiracy?
It's a conspiracy theory that is sponsored, that has been bought by him. Okay, and that is the reason why it was very difficult for the President Ramaphosa to handle that. Now, how many African farmers suffer from that kind of killing? And how many years, talk about the years of apartheid, and how the white took a lot of advantage or had a lot of advantages. Okay, now that they try to see how to balance things up, it now becomes like an issue. So that's about that. I would like to end by saying that, look, American President Trump and his policies should be a kind of impetus for us to also love our continent and love our people.
Excellent. So which is a good way to segue it. So what is the role, what ought to be the role of Nigeria in this idea of Africa, loving itself? I remember that late Madiba, the great man, Nelson Mandela, had said that if Africa was going to come out of age, it's going to be Nigeria leading. So I know that you do quite a bit of work in Pan-Africanism and all of that. Is Nigeria holding down the African continent?
In a sense, Nigeria is not coming up very strongly as it used to be. But I know that Nigeria is a big weight when it comes to Africa. I mean, in all ramifications. If you talk about our demographics, you'll discover that in terms of the population, we are the biggest, all right? You have over 220, million people. And in terms of economy as well, our GDP, of course, it's also between South Africa, Egypt, and Nigeria. Sometimes other countries, will come up. But again, too, intellectually, that Nigerians are in the forefront. Over the years, Nigeria has been the big brother, so-called giant, of Africa, helping out in different dimensions and in different areas in the African continent. And so, when it comes to this historical consciousness of Pan-Africanism, Nigeria is not doing well. Now, when you want to talk about this, that Pan-Africanism, people say, is a movement that unites African people globally, right, worldwide. Now, but that unity has a history behind that. Behind unity, there is a big history. The earliest Pan-Africanists, people like Kwame Nkrumah and so on and so forth, wanted Africans to unite.
Yeah, I think he even toyed with the idea of one country.
I mean, of one country, to have one military, to have one. We regard that as a radical school of Pan-Africanism.
Right.
What we are doing today in our institute is the dialogue approach to Pan-Africanism. Okay.
So tell us about your institute. The Pan-African Dialogue Institute. What's it all about, and what do you guys do?
Now, the Pan-African Dialogue Institute is an international think tank, a think tank of African academics, a think tank of African professionals, whichever field of you find yourself, a think tank of African students globally, a think tank of African civil society leaders, grassroots movement, organizers, and so on, coming together for the study, the promotion and propagation, and the practice of Pan-Africanism.
Interesting.
Yes. So we say we want to study Pan-Africanism because it has not been studied. And people just mention Pan-Africanism in passing or whatever. What is it about? Who are the people, who are the icons that should, people need models, we need
that we inspire them.
To inspire them and so on and so forth. You see that we need to study them by way of being intentional in educational system, embracing this. Not just anyhow, because for you to, come to terms with the historical consciousness of this movement, it must be studied consistently by our young people. Our young people will grow up to be dignified, to know that they are people that no one can toy with.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
I was talking about Pan-Africanism.
Yes.
it is a movement that unifies
All black people.
all black people everywhere. But the point is that, I agree with that. For me, I would describe Pan-Africanism with at least 3 words.
Okay.
Number one, it is a struggle, it is a response, and it is a celebration.
Are we going to continue to hold other people responsible for our own delay? Does the Pan-Africanism of which you speak, does it recognize, that we have to take responsibility for our own destiny?
Excellent question. One of the core principles of Pan-Africanism is self-determination. That we do not have to begin to, shift, blames on people for your underdevelopment and things like that. And in fact, somebody said, I think it was one white scholar, I said, well, you people are complaining of being colonized and yeah, because you are colonizable. Colonizable. You are colonizable. Yeah, we colonize you because you are colonizable. Now the point.
You feel like knocking him in the head.
Tell you. No, the point is that my people say in other words, if you make yourself a bicycle, then they're
gonna
ride on you. But that also calls for self-determination, looking inward. This issue of depending on the West for our survival, for our security, for our food, and things like that. Are you aware that Africa, even Nigeria, appears to import more than 70% of our food from abroad?
Yes, sir.
And this is a serious matter. Check it out. The statistics show that most of the things we use in our homes or even eat are from abroad. And so it is important that we talk about self-determination.
Okay.
That we can take our future in our hands. We can grow our food enough for us to feed, sufficient enough for consumption, and of course for export as well.
Well, it's a conversation that we have to continue even in the future. Hopefully, you're going to come back. But I wanted to ask you, so what's the significance of the Africa Day, which is being marked today? Last question.
Africa Day is more than just a date. May 25 every year was proclaimed as Africa Day. As a matter of fact, OAU was born on May 25, 1963. And when Organization of African Unity, OAU, transformed itself to become African Union in 2002, they retained May 25 and proclaimed May 25 to be celebrated worldwide as Africa Day, to celebrate our struggles, to celebrate our triumphs, to celebrate our freedom, whether political freedom, whether economic freedom. How much we have achieved that. It's a different story. But we have to celebrate who we are, to celebrate our human dignity has been bastardized, and people think because of the color of your skin that they are better than you.
But do we really celebrate it in Nigeria at all?
Of all, the countries, about 9 countries in Africa have adopted this May 25 and proclaimed it as their national public holidays.
Oh, I see.
And celebrating in different ways.
Can you list some of them?
Now, Mali is there, Lesotho is there, Zambia is there, South Africa is there, Ghana, and so on and so forth.
Interesting.
But Nigeria, the giant of Africa, is not among them. And so we are beginning a campaign, an advocacy campaign by our institute to tell the federal government of Nigeria, please, recognize May 25 as a national public holiday. So as to create platforms for us to go back and talk about our historical consciousness of who we are as Africans, okay? And celebrate our dignity and celebrate. By the way, I'm sure you are aware that Africa is the cradle of humankind.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm a graduate of history.
Interesting. I mean, this is a scientific fact. It's not just which is saying.
Yeah.
I can tell you, if it was maybe America or Asia or Europe that had been identified scientifically as the cradle of humanity, I mean, the whole world will not hear anything.
Yeah.
Okay?
We won't hear word again.
Africa, we do not celebrate this. We need to celebrate this.
Thank you so much, Dr. Effiong. Our time is fast spent. You know, a very exciting conversation.
Yes, indeed.
About Pan-Africanism and the role of Nigeria in it. You know, I hope that you know the federal government they're listening to you, and I think you should be you know drumming it, especially to the people in foreign affairs. You know, to recognize this day much more. And hopefully that Nigeria will take its place in the development of Africa and lead the continent. Sure. Thank you so much for all you do. Thank you for the work you do in your institute. Thank you for your work as an intellectual. And thank you for coming to Inside Sources.
Thank you. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you.
All right. All right. And then